I don't get more than 6,000 naira monthly pension. Unless it was increased yesterday.
We served for 35 years and they don't even remember us.
As I'm for eating, I'm alive. I'm alive. Don't me run money. I for always and with
After spending your whole lifetime, when you are young, strong, vibrant, you do your job well without any kwana, then at the last instant, when you are old, you are not strong again. Your entitlements are not being paid. It's unfortunate.
That fateful day, he had to leave the home early in the morning. I was at work. For me to, be called that my dad had an accident, and before I got there, he has given up the ghost.
What pensioners are being subjected to is wicked, if I may use that word. It is punitive.
The expectation is, if you dedicate your life to public service, you are guaranteed a solemn retirement. But if you were essentially to dedicate your life, work, and resources to the public service in Nigeria, how secure will your resting days be? The pension system in Nigeria is in a crisis, one that needs urgent attention.
Pension is regarded as a promise. In fact, not just a promise, but a guarantee. My name is Melanie Ishola, and I want to find out why the singular promise of this guarantee by the government to its workforce is difficult to keep.
A report by the National Pension Commission titled Level of Implementation of the Pension Reform Act by States as of June 2021 showed that 25 states had enacted laws to join the scheme. And of the 36 states making up the Federation, the report showed that only 4 states, Lagos, Osun, Kaduna, Delta, plus the FCT, were paying pensions to retirees under the Contributory Pension Scheme and funding the accrued rights benefits under the old pension scheme, also known as the Defined Benefit Scheme.
Pension is one of the pillars of the social security of any country. The whole idea of pension is to give people who have worked, whether in the private or public sector, the opportunity of ending, if not something close to, and having a life close to what they've been used to before they retired. That's the whole essence of pension, so that it will take away penury, deprivation in their old age, when most of them have put in hard work during their working period and they are no longer now able to work.
The Nigerian Pensions Commission Site reads, "We protect your future." This promise has to be tested based on the lives of the pensioners around us. How protected are they? We took a journey to know the issues with the administration of pensions across the states of Nigeria. We chose 3 states: Rivers, Kano, and Osun. Of course, we began with the state of Osun, where the Nigerian Union of Pensioners Osun State Chapter had just staged a protest on non-payment of pension arrears. When we arrived, the issue on the front burner was that of the court cases the union had just won against the government.
We are all happy that we went to court in 2017, and judgment was given 2 weeks ago. And then by yesterday evening, we were able to collect all our papers regarding to the judgment. We took many things to court, but we are lucky. We won all the grants. Among the grants we won are harmonization of salary. Can you believe that there are some people who are still on 330 naira monthly? 330, 500, 1,003. And we wrote several letters to the government, but government did not reply us. We even complain about these people, that they are earning less than what they should earn. So among what we took to court are payment of arrears of 21%, half salary and 3/4 salary. They are owing us 15 full months. That's 30 half salaries. Then 19% for those who are tertiary officers who retired. Non-implementation of 33%. Osun, Lagos has implemented its own. Ondo implemented its own, but Osun refused to implement. Non-payment of consequential adjustment. Even the national level, the Southwest people are ready to take all the 6 governors to court on the issue of consequential. But if they pay, there is no need for us to go to court. So we are on that. Then there is another thing on this something, implementation of 5 yearly increase. Osun has never implemented this. And this is in the Constitution of Nigeria. So we want that too. And the court ordered them that they should pay all the gratuities and pension of those that they are being paid 100,000. For example, now somebody on 5 million, you pay 100,000 this year. Next year you pay another 100,000. When will the payment be completed?
Láti ìgbà tí mo ti fi iṣẹ́ lẹ̀ ní fẹ̀yìntì, wọ́n kọ́kọ́ ń fún mi ní àpò méjì àbọ̀ tí jẹ́ 500 naira tí wọ́n kó fún mi nù. Mo sì ń gbà sórí pé tí ò jẹ́ kí n dá dúró ńgbà náà pé kí n ó bí mi pé kí n filẹ̀. Àwọn ọmọ tó ń tọ́jú mi bá pé n ó filẹ̀, wọ́n á ní kí n máa forí tì.
Ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́ta mo gbà àti sílẹ̀ mẹ́ta àgbẹ̀ láyé ìgbà tí kẹta ń pè ní àpò mẹ́ta àbọ̀. Nígbà tí kíní bá gbàjọba Lẹ́gùsóyè àfàkù mẹ́rin kún ọjọ́ ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́rin àbọ̀ olùmọ̀ gbà tí mo wà.
From what we gathered, both Mr. Lamidi Ishola Adeyinka and Mr. James Ajayi have retired for over 3 decades. The argument is, if their pensions were harmonized in line with their outstanding incremental percentages, their monthly earnings would have improved substantially. When asked how they cope with the meager amount they earn as pension, both men spoke on the support of children and family members.
Kò tó mi náà ṣùgbọ́n mo rí nírànlọ́wọ́ tó wọ́n ń fún mi ní ẹ̀bùn ní abẹ́lé tí wọ́n wá fi ń ṣe mí láàánú.
And for those that do not have such structure, the reality of the new life after retirement soon dawns. Mr. Ivo Tako, a consultant on pension matters and the executive director of the Center for Pension Rights Advocacy, sees this model as a failing system in the light of our prevailing economic reality.
In our current economic situations, those children who should have been independent by now, but because of unemployment rate in the country, high unemployment rate, they are still dependent on their parents. They are still eating from the pots of their mother. People who should have been in their own houses. And so it's even affecting how quick we get married now and how quick we have children. You know what that will mean? In the future, you will have people who will be training children in their old age.
Kano, it's a different kettle of fish. Although issues like non-payment of pensions for some pensioners and non-payment of gratuities are present in the other states. The peculiar issues here are the non-remission of pension funds by some ministries and agencies of government and the deductions from monthly payment due to others.
I am a living witness. I've seen how many people died, how many people have stroke, how many children were unable to get married because their dues were not paid. Please, whoever is responsible, let him do something about pensioners. It's terrible. After spending your whole lifetime, when you are young, strong, vibrant, you do your job well without any kwana, then at the last instant, when you are old, you are not strong again, your entitlements are not being paid. It's unfortunate. As once a branch chairman, I've been to many places. I've seen so many things that makes me cry. Even now, I felt it, terribly felt it.
While in Rivers State, we visited Pa Samuel Wiche. He's a retired primary school teacher.
I worked as a primary school teacher. I retired too as a primary school teacher. Voluntarily, because of non-payment of salaries, still. In 1981, I retired. We drew my service voluntarily. We drew voluntary retirement because of non-payment of salaries. It was irregular at the time. Irregular. Salaries were irregular. So the only way out was to find my way out and a joint company. In fact, it was in the company that I made what I made, that I had the power to train my children. I'm built to this FCC here. But as a teacher, it would have been difficult for me. Because at that time, it appears that teacher services were no longer needed by people. Even I can say that during the mission era, during the church era, it appears we were honored than the government. Monthly pension is a problem. It's meager, so tiny, and irregular.
We later understood when we caught up with Mr. Agbo, the Secretary, Nigerian Union of Pensioners, Rivers State Chapter, that the issue with primary school teachers who retired under the defined benefit scheme is peculiar, as Rivers State government leaves out the federal portion of the scheme, which back in 2002, the federal government stopped remitting and handed the responsibility over to state governments. However, this isn't all there is to the Rivers story.
Rivers State is owing on three major items like gratuity, initial pension area, and death benefit, over 110 billion naira. Then when you put other increases on pension, like 6%, 15%, 33%, is much. These increases have not been paid at all. No harmonization. Some people, since they retired, they have not gone a dime increase on the pension. You are stagnated on one pay, and that is not what the pension rule says. Section 173, subsection 3 said that pension should be increased along with other increases of those who are working. But here, nobody talks of increase. You are retired on 5 naira, you will be on 5 naira to death do you part. It's very, very unfortunate.
And while pensioners are complaining, the politicians are patting themselves on the back and celebrating what they consider major achievements. The Rivers State government had just concluded 10 flyover projects across the state, and it was the commissioning of the Rumola flyover. We were invited as well. After the ceremony, we met with the Rivers State Commissioner for Information, Mr. Paulinus Nsirim, and asked about the over 110 billion naira pension debt owed.
His Excellency inherited 3 months unpaid salaries, 5 months pension arrears. He inherited a judiciary that was locked down for 2 years. He is one governor in Nigeria that never got a handover note because his predecessor refused to hand over to him. So he had to start from scratch. If he didn't have a vision of what he wanted to do for the state, he would have been incapacitated. So we also inherited a contributory pension scheme that was geared towards milking civil servants. So that contributory pension scheme has been revised by the State House of Assembly, and the process of paying the arrears is ongoing. Pensioners are being captured now, a biometric system, and so they are being paid. That of pension, monthly pension, is regular. As civil servants take their salary, they get. The pension arrears, they're also being paid instrumentally because it's a huge burden. But the genesis is what I just explained to you.
We put the submissions of the Commissioner for Information to the Secretary, Nigerian Union of Pensioners in Rivers State, Mr. Joseph Agbo.
There is no defy contributory pension scheme in Rivers State. No, they are not taking effect. The government has not contributed a dime. The workers have been paying, and they are keeping that money. And they say they have started the contributory. It's not there. Recently, they amended it and pushed it forward that the contributory pension scheme will start with effect from 2025, 1st July. The scheme, the previous arrangement has been abolished. And just to accommodate those who are retiring now. Those who are retiring now are falling under the defined benefit scheme, the old scheme. When they retire you, they manage after 2-3 years, they put you on payroll, and then the gratuity is not paid. They are not paid the dime since they come into power on gratuity. It's about 8 years now, 7.5 years rather.
Back in Kano, the executives of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners opened up on some of the issues pensioners have to deal with.
Here, we operate contributory pension, but still we are on the defined pension benefits. You contribute as an employer, as an employee, the 8% from your salary. The government contributes 17%, making it 25%. That 25% is supposed to be taken to the pension fund, pension fund trustees, for the payment of pension and gratuity, if there is excess. So what is happening in Kano here is there are some organizations that are defaulting. We started getting, defaulting each and every month. That resulted to, the organization, that's the pension industry, cannot meet the 100% monthly pension to its pension. So not to talk a payment of gratuity.
So the state is not paying 100% pension?
We are not paying 100%.
Across the states, one issue seems to be a common denominator. This is derived from the Pension Reform Act of 2004, the Contributory Pension Scheme.
Before the Contributory Pension Scheme kicked off in June 2004, the whole pension landscape in the country was a bit unstable. The Public Service Pension Scheme was unfunded. The bureaucratic system was too chaotic, and to an extent that funds were not set aside. Funds were not set aside for pension. And so people were paid just as they go. They made budgetary provision every year to pay pension. And budget is a matter of projection based on revenue. And so there were people who were, yes, retired from public service, yes, without being paid pension because there was no money to pay them. Then in the private sector, there was actually no law that guaranteed pension. The only law then was the NSITF scheme. And the NSITF scheme was there, but then the NSITF scheme was also not really functioning because employers were not complying. There were the issues of compliance. And the in-house schemes, which most workers in the private sectors relied upon, had issues. The pension funds were not segregated from the funds of the company. And so any company that went ground, the pension of the workers also went ground. So no guarantee. So that was the situation before the coming in of the contributory pension scheme, both in the private and in the public sector. The liabilities was about 2 trillion.
A whopping 2 trillion naira? What happened to this debt? I reached out to the Pension Commission about the transitional arrangement made regarding the repayment of the 2 trillion naira debt, but there was no response. Now, let's take it to the basis and compare notes. What stability has been achieved in the administration of pension since the introduction of the Pension Reform Act of 2004?
There is no worker in the state who wants to be under the contributory pension scheme.
Why is it so?
Because they are not sure of government contributing their own quota. They can be deducting your own. Your own, you are not the one they deduct from you is not even sure that they will send it there. Or what they actually deduct is what they give to the people. So people want to be under the defined benefit scheme. I went there. There are so many workers, and they said, no, we cannot join the contributory pension scheme. But government in its wisdom forced them to that they must join. And up till now, they have not implemented it. It's a program that took up from 2004 till now. It will take off from Rivers State with effect from 1st July 2022. How many years? Over 20, almost 20 years.
We were supposed to earn that 30% minimum wage increase. I don't know whether they do it in other states or they didn't do it. But in our own state, they didn't do it. Then when there was a problem with with the local government, as well as SUBEB, that were unable to fulfill their part of the bargain of 17% of the contributory pension, this created a lot of problem for the pension board.
I asked Professor Joe Abugu, a senior advocate of Nigeria and an expert in labor law, why the singular promise of pension is increasingly becoming problematic for governments to keep.
First, the problem is that of the Constitution. The Constitution we operate, the 1999 Constitution. You know, quite a number of us at different fora, have deprecated the unitary nature of the type of government we run, vis-a-vis, global concepts of federalism. So we have a constitution that places labor and the setting of labor standards as well as pension provisions in the National Assembly, the central government. And so you have a Labor Act, which is coming from the federal government. You have a Minimum Wage Act, which is also a National Assembly statute. And then you have a Pension Reform Act, which is also federal legislation. The news media is awash with the derelict of state governments, to comply with the provisions of the Pension Reform Act. State civil servants are not enjoying the benefits of even having the state governments contribute their own segment into the retirement savings accounts of their employees. Okay? Again, whilst the Pension Reform Act provides, for a charge in the Consolidated Revenue Fund with respect to federal government contributions, for federal civil servants, there's no such provision that charges the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the states towards the payment of the pension of their civil servants. So fundamentally, it is a constitutional problem.
As we drive to a close, there is an issue that needs touching on, that of the I Am Alive exercise. This is an exercise carried out by the government to ascertain that a retiree is still alive and ensure payments are not made to ghosts. However, we realized that sometimes this exercise occurs more than once a year.
Some of these aged people die while in queue. I remember even before his demise, he told us that he will be on the queue for hours, not being attended to, going back home. And that fateful day, he had to leave the home early in the morning. I was at work. For me to, be called that my dad had accident. And before I got there, he has given up the ghost. I was even talking to a colleague and she told me her experience too. That her father too, they took the man there and the man fainted. And that was how he had stroke. From there. They lost him.
No, let's get this right first. The Pension Reform Act 2014, just like the preceding one of 2004, did not provide for anything like I Am Alive capture. You see, I'm Alive capture system is simply administrative. Even if you find that your present administrative mechanisms are unable to address it, there are various other ways you can do it. You have just mentioned technology. Moreover, how about the banks? You pay these pensions proceeds into banking accounts.
To be clear, all efforts to get comments through the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, as well as the officials of the pension boards in Osun and Kano states proved abortive. What we do know is that the Commissioner for Information in Osun State, Mrs. Egbemodefunke Adenike, had asked that the senior citizens please be more understanding with the government after the November 2021 protest. And in Kano, the state governor has started to offset the 28 billion naira liabilities to pensioners with the promise of 500 million naira monthly.
So every month we are expecting. Already we receive December 500 million. We are now waiting. So government to release another 500 million end of this month.
The question is, considering that Governor Abdullahi Ganduje leaves office come 2023, will the next governor commit to this arrangement? Granted that it would take 56 months, that is, almost 5 years, to offset the arrears with the current arrangement. And while there is light in Kano, there is no certainty about Osun and Rivers, as no definite promise has been made by their governments. What this means for the majority is that pensions continue to be owed, allowances unharmonized, death benefits unpaid, and gratuities unremitted. We may then continue to see the upsurge in senior citizens trooping to the streets to protest, to demand their rights.